Tonight should be a lot of fun. You guys are going to test some drinks and stuff, see all the different clues that we look for, the HEN, the one leg stand, and one walk and turn, so it's pretty fun. So you guys will enjoy that. The drinkers all enjoy it too, so it's pretty fun. Like I said, tonight is the SFST night, standard field sobriety testing. Officer Andy Cole in the back will be our lead instructor, but that's what we're doing. This is all for the 3 hours tonight. It's all about that. He'll have some PowerPoint instructions first and show you what to look for and how to perform the test. Then we'll go from there. One thing I didn't get done, and I apologize. I got a little busy. I will work on that this week and then start next week. I'll go through your ride-alongs and try to find some nights to have you go, and I'll email you and email you a couple dates at work, okay? So I apologize, I got a little tied up on a couple things, so I will get on that as soon as I can, okay? With that, I'll give you Officer Andy Cole.
Good evening. Thank you guys for being interested in the Citizens Academy. As Sergeant Blyles said, we're going to go through SFSTs tonight, which is standardized field sobriety tests. This is what you guys see on the road, where we've got people walking the line, following our finger, lifting their foot up, doing the crazy dance stuff. Just to give you a format for tonight, we've got about a 2-hour talk that we're going to go through. It's going to include some background on alcohol, some background on how field sobriety was brought together. Second hour is going to blow by pretty quick. Okay, we're going to have to give you guys a chance to go through the actual field sobriety tests. Okay, for the third hour tonight, what I'm going to do is I've got 7 people back there. I'm getting them drunk right now. Okay? They have had nothing to eat since lunch. Okay, so when we get into the physiology of alcohol and how it absorbs into the body, okay, I'm not going to get them wasted. They are going to be roughly at the level that we see 90% of our drunks. Okay? Now, you guys are going to have to guess what that level is. Okay? Legal driving limit for the state of Iowa is what? The per se legal limit is what?
0.08.
0.08, correct. Okay? So, we're going to be, that's my goal. Okay? That's where it's toughest for us to view these guys. Okay? But it's where you guys are seeing them weaving. Okay? Not staying in their lane, dropping off on the shoulder, those kinds of things. We're going to mix things up. I got videos, I've got talks, I've got more videos, and I've got talks, okay? I try to make this as lighthearted as I can. If you have a question, raise your hand. If I'm going to get to it later in the talk, I'll just say, hold your thought, we'll get there in a minute, okay? If I can answer, I'll answer it right then, all right? Anybody have any pressing questions right now? Everybody knows where the restroom is. If you need to go, get up and go. I don't care. You're not going to offend me at all. Yes, sir.
I want to apologize to all of you instructors and teachers in the class for being absent last week. I feel so self-conscious about that, missing out on the class last Tuesday night, and I apologize for it.
I appreciate you here tonight, though.
Yeah, I'm glad. From now on, I've got to be here without missing.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Sir.
Is it mainly overnight that you work, or do you?
I work the 3 to 11 shift. I work 3 to 11 Tuesday through Saturday. So today is Monday for me in my world, and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning for me.
You concentrate on, are you a routine officer?
What's that?
Are you a routine officer, or are you
I'm assigned to the 3 to 11 patrol shift.
a certain area?
We rotate throughout all of our areas. I would love to say that I concentrate mainly on traffic enforcement, OWIs, and drug impaired driving, which I'll get into a little bit more later. Unfortunately, with our staffing needs right now, we are going call to call to call. The radio just doesn't seem to leave us alone sometimes. So, and when the radio does leave us alone, we're tied up with paperwork. So, it's going to get loud, it's going to get boisterous back there. If they get to be too much of a problem, I will try and take care of that, but realize they're having a lot more fun than we are right now. If I leave this light off, is everybody okay so you can see the screen better? This is going to be fun. This is a Canadian service ad. So I might find volume here. I would wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Over the last 50 years of this campaign being out, traffic fatalities have gone down from, it was like 11,000, is that right? 11,000 and change a year, or 1,100 and change a year, to 230 a year. And the final comment on there is 230 is still too many. Sergeant Blassa, my name is Andrew Cole with the Marshalltown Police Department. I'm an SFST instructor. Went through the SFST Instructor Academy through ILEA in 2012. Shortly after that, I was selected to go to the drug recognition expert class. That is where we focus mainly on drug OWIs. Several different categories, from depressants, stimulants, dissociative anesthetics, hallucinogens, narcotics, and cannabis, and all those drugs that fall within those. That was 4.5 weeks of training that I went through in 2012. Just last year, I was selected by the state, along with 7 other candidates, to go through the DRE instructor school. That was a 1-week class where we had to go through and show more proficiency in our SFSTs and our DRE examinations, and then we're now able to teach new officers coming through those programs. There's contact information there for the police department if you guys don't already have that. What is a drug? A drug, as defined, is any substance that, when ingested, impairs the body from operating a motor vehicle in a safe manner. Can anybody name any drugs? Alcohol. Meth. Oxycontin. Cough syrup. There actually is dextromethorphan in that. Kids will use that with Sprite and get high off of that.
Cocaine and heroin.
Cocaine and heroin. What are you drinking? What are you drinking? Yeah, what are you drinking?
I think it's Mountain Dew.
What's in Mountain Dew?
Caffeine.
A lot of sugar.
Caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. Okay. When taken, say it's coffee. Get jittery when you have too much of that stuff. See people that drink a lot of Monster energy drinks get jittery. Okay? Caffeine is a drug. Now, how much of that do we have to drink to impair us? That's up for debate, right? Okay. Nicotine a drug? Does it impair us to drive? Probably not. Okay, 2 main phases to being a police officer when it comes to an OWI. First is detection, second is general deterrence. Detection is obviously looking at a vehicle or looking at an individual and seeing that they are impaired. But what I would rather do is I would rather do general deterrence. I would rather educate someone on what it takes to become impaired to drive a motor vehicle in the state of Iowa or anywhere across the nation. And I want to make sure if you want to go out and have a few drinks, you stay below that legal limit and that you're not necessarily impaired to drive. Boy, I should have changed these. Apologize. Upon successful completion of this section, you're going to be able to describe the frequency of DWI violations, general deterrence, describe relationships between the detection and general deterrence. This presentation is geared towards officers also, so I have to go through these little slides so that they know what they're supposed to get out of this when they get to the end. They can't say, you didn't cover that. Upon successful completion, we are also going to be able to describe a brief history of alcohol, common types of alcohol, and we're going to describe the process of absorption, distribution, and elimination in the human body. You can read this graph. These are amount of deaths in the state of Iowa from 2006 to 2012. Okay? 2011 was a good year, only at 217. It was a little over 50, I'm sorry. We were averaging over that 6-year time frame 217 deaths.
Oh.
In Iowa to date. We have had 50 traffic fatalities on Iowa roads. Our goal is 0. 0 fatalities. That is our goal as police officers from the local to the state level. And by you being here, I'm hoping that we can pass the word and the knowledge about what we can do to lower those fatalities.
Is that just alcohol then?
That is not alcohol, that's total. Those are total deaths, 50 to date, and that's as reported to NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, per year. So, yeah, we're about a quarter of the way through the year. We're a quarter of the way to 200. Yes, ma'am.
Will you be sharing with us the educational programs that are going on in the school districts too?
I don't have any of those, no,
You don't have any of those, okay, thank you.
not a problem. The DWI or OWI problem. Prior to 1994, nearly half of the drivers who died in crashes had been drinking. In 2002, alcohol-related fatalities rose to 17,419, representing 41% of all traffic fatalities. So almost half of the fatalities in the United States were caused by alcohol. Do we have a problem? Is it a curable problem?
Yes.
Some of these slides are predated, and I haven't got the updated ones in from NHTSA yet. This goes back to the old .1. On weekend nights, 10% or more of the drivers on the road are over that limit. That stat's probably 10 years old. 1 out of 7 drivers leaving bars is driving while intoxicated. That's on a Friday and a Saturday night. Do we have a problem?
Yeah.
Can we fix it? Drivers while intoxicated are 80 times the average violator drives while intoxicated almost 80 times a year. Are you guys driving by these guys on the road?
Oh, yeah.
Almost got hit last weekend.
It's a problem. Remember I was saying we're going call to call to call to call? I'm not getting these guys pulled over as much as I want to. Now, are there drivers that are out there on the road that are probably good drunks? They can drive fairly well? Potentially. If they're an alcoholic, yeah. They function. They have to function around the 100, 150. It's scary, guys. 2002, alcohol was involved in approximately 41% of all fatality crashes. 9% were reported to be injury crashes, and 6% of all crashes, in 6% of all those crashes. 54% of all fatality crashes on weekends are alcohol related. So if you get in a wreck on Friday and Saturday night, every other person in this room, if you were all to get in a wreck, every other person is going to be involved in an alcohol related accident. Now, 41% of that, 54% is going to be fatality. Do we have a problem? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, guys. I'm not trying to tell you that you guys have a problem. I'm saying we as a general public have a problem. Alcohol-related fatalities represent an average of 1 alcohol-related fatality every 30 minutes. We're going to be here for 3 hours. Do the math. Nationwide. Scary thought. Based on the most current cost data available, these alcohol-related fatalities cost society roughly $54 billion with a B. $54 billion in lost productivity, medical expenses, property damage, and other related expenditures. If you're insured by ABC Insurance Company, and you're insured by ABC Insurance Company, he gets in an accident that's alcohol related because he was drinking, does that affect you along the line?
Yes.
Because his company, your company, is paying out. Insurance companies pass those down the line. Thank God we got them. Because when that drunk driver hits us, we know we're going to be taken care of. Still going to cost that.
Hopefully.
Correct. For every OWI violated or arrested, 3 others are contacted face-to-face but released without arrest. Why do you think that is?
They were underage, maybe.
Possibly
Borderline?
borderline. We- What's that?
Just the ability to process.
The ability to process, ability to drive while intoxicated and not appear to be intoxicated. Could be lack of understanding on an officer's part of what they're seeing. That's part of my job. It's part of why I do what I do right here with you guys. It's part of why I go around and I do classes throughout the entire state of Iowa. I go to the academy and I teach. I want to make sure that these students, these young officers that are coming out of the academy and working on our roads understand what a drunk driver looks like. And you're going to see, because I guarantee you a couple of these are going to fool you. I'll guarantee it. You're going to think they're way up here. Maybe down here. That's a scary thought for me, and that's why I do what I do. That's why I have the passion to do what I do. That's why I keep plugging away every day. When I'm dealing with death notifications, when I'm dealing with car accidents and personal injury accidents, I keep pushing to make sure that we get that from 3 others being released to nobody being released. Every alcohol-related driver that we deal with, we want to put away. And now my push is to deal with those people who are on drugs. Not just illicit drugs, prescription drugs too. We'll get into that a little bit. So what can we do to help this? 1 in 4. What can we do to help this? It's a scary thought, guys. We can educate people, just like we've been talking about. Alcohol is a family of closely related chemicals whose molecules are made up of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. There are 3 different types of alcohol. We have methyl alcohol or methanol. We have ethyl alcohol or ethanol. We have isopropyl alcohol. Everybody knows what the last one is, right? Please don't drink that. It will mess you up medically in a hurry. That's why most of it's like 1 or 3%. The rest of it's like water. You're actually pouring that stuff on you to get the fizzy bubble stuff. Okay? Ethanol, ethyl alcohol is what we drink. Great grain. Top 1 methyl is wood. That stuff's nasty. Okay. Anybody think of what a standard size drink is for beer? When we talk about a standard drink, 12 ounces, correct. Can of beer is 12 ounces. At 4% alcohol means that there is just under a ½ ounce of pure ethanol in that drink. How much wine? 6, 4. Anybody else? 8. 4 ounces. Most wines are bottled at 12%. So there again, that's a standard size of a ½ ounce of pure alcohol. Anybody guess what a shot is?
1 ounce.
80 proof is 1.25 ounces. So if it's 80 proof, it's 40% alcohol, and within that, you have to use that 1/4 ounce to get your ½ ounce of pure ethanol in that drink. So when you ask for a double, when you go to the bar, remember you're drinking 2, not 1. So when you pull the drunk guy over and he says, "How many have you drink?" "I've had 2, sir." 2 what? Okay, 2 tall boys, 2 pounders, 2 mixed drinks, and they burn them because it's 3 shots because they really like you. You were talking sweet to the bartender. Okay. "I got 2, sir. That's all I had to swear." Okay, whatever. Proof's in the pudding right there. That's why we know what we're talking about when we say, "Bull, you didn't have 2 drinks." Because the 2 drinks, you've had 1 ounce of pure alcohol, and that's not going to get you skyrocketed to that 200. "They're so words like this," and they're saying, "Hi, sir, how are you?" It doesn't work that way, guys. Alcohol is the most abused drug in the United States. Does everybody agree with that statement?
Yes.
It falls under the category of a CNS depressant. Slows your systems down, slows your heart rate down, lowers your body temperature, okay? Slows your pulse down,
And yet it's legal.
okay? You got it, it's legal. Legal to a certain limit, okay? Legal to a certain limit.
Mr. Cole,
Yes, sir.
when I was a boy, I always heard the adults talking about the beer in Iowa being 3.2. Is it no longer like that, or?
It's a little bit higher than that now. Most beer is going to be 4%. You can get some malts that are going to be higher than that. So your hard lemonades, some of your cider beverages, things like that. Those will be upwards of 7 to 8. So now what? If we're doubling our percentage, our proof, okay? That 12-ounce bottle of Mike's Hard Lemonade just turned into 2 Miller Lights. Same fluid ounce in the bottle. You're still 12-ounce bottle, okay? Or a 12-ounce can or whatever you're drinking. But it has to do with what type of alcohol. Okay. This is what's going on in your body when you drink alcohol, eat food, whatever you're going to do. Okay? So, what we have here, esophagus come down, we got it in your stomach, okay? Then we have what's called the pylorus with the pylorus valve, or pyloric valve right here, okay? What happens when you take something in, okay? Only 20% is going to go through your stomach walls, okay? Your stomach is mainly just a big old chamber of hammers, and everything else is going to smash up whatever you're drinking so it can be absorbed out into its purest form, okay? The majority of the absorption is going to go on down here in the pylorus. Okay? So, when I had them make sure that they didn't eat, where's all the alcohol going? Got an empty stomach. It's going straight into the pylorus. We're going to get them up there in the first hour. And I'm going to tell you what they're at the first hour. Okay? I'm going to give you their first hour. I'm going to give you the time that they came out to you. Then I'm going to give you what they go in it. So you can see how they progress through the evening and how they start coming down after that hour. So what I'm doing in there right now is I'm feeding them alcohol. They're halfway through their first hour. They're going to be a quarter of the way through their drinks. Okay? So that alcohol's going in there. It's getting into the pylorus and it's going, whee! It's flying out of the body. It's going to all the fun little areas that it likes to go to, making them really loud and noxious.
We can hear 'em.
Oh, it's going to get worse. Trust me.
What kind of alcohol are they drinking?
Let's see. I've got a wine drinker, I've got a Captain and Coke drinker, and I've got 4 beer drinkers. Now remember, I'm feeding them one drink. Their drinks depend on their weight. Okay? So if they're bigger, they're going to get more drinks. If they're smaller, they're going to have less drinks. I have a target number that I'm going to hit for. I've been doing these since I became an SFST instructor, and I have hit 95% of the time exactly what I'm looking for. I may have to speed them up and feed them a full shot, or I may have to go like this, less talky, more drinky, and tip the bottom of the can up for them. But I'm going to get them there. Or Casey's going to get them there, I should say. Okay, so we've got nothing in
They're
there.
not driving home, are they?
Oh no, we've got arranged rides for everybody. Okay? So, that's why when people say, don't go out and drink on an empty stomach, your buzz will last longer. The reason is you get that pylorus filled up with your food, alcohol just sits here. It's happy, and it's a fluid. It's not going anywhere. Only 20% of it's going to go out here. It's going to wait till that pylorus empties out. It's going to trickle down into the pylorus, and it's going to go like that. Okay, so it's going to go a lot faster once it hits that pylorus. Now, once we get through the first hour, I'm going to give them some snacks. I'm going to slow them down because I want to get them up there, and I want to sustain that buzz for a long time. Okay, so that's my goal. Now you see how the science is starting to work here, guys? As fast as we get into the system, the faster it's going to get out, right? Okay, but if I slow it down by putting some food in it, food's going to sink down a little faster. We're going to put some more drinks on top of the food, get that pylorus plugged up. That way they're going to be good for you guys for the entire hour. That way we don't have the spike. Spikes are bad. People get angry when they come down. And come down fast. Okay, distribution of alcohol. Getting the ethanol into the body's tissues and organs. The basic principle is ethanol goes wherever water is. Who gets drunker faster? Men or women? Women. Why? Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate you coming today. She's exactly right. Women have a higher water percentage in their body than men do. So it's going to attack those systems quicker. That's why women are the cheap dates, right? I'm sorry. Don't tell my wife I said that, Tanya. I'll get mad, or I'll get in trouble, and then I'll be mad at you. Okay, so body parts that have water: brain, liver, muscle tissue. Brain, what does it keep track of for us? Our motor skills, driving a car, writing our name, reaching for our license, rolling a window down. Or I guess we roll the window down now, we don't roll them down. Anyway, body parts that don't. Bones, fatty tissue. Okay? So, because the male is 68%, got more, it's going to sit there longer. Women, less, going up faster. Make sense? So now we go to we got the alcohol in there, now we got to get it out, right? How do we get it out? Through the liver, main reason. Okay? Now, direct excretion. We can breathe it out. That's how we test for it, generally, right? We take our PVT sample, or we use our data master down at the PD. We ask you for a breath sample. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Sweat, tears, urine. I'm not going to squeeze you for any sweat, and I'm definitely not going to make you cry intentionally. Okay? Urine, I'll ask you for your urine. So like one test in Iowa that you can, by default, reject in the state of Iowa, and I can't revoke you. Blood. I can't make you get stuck with a needle. If I ask for urine, if I ask for blood, and you decline, I'm going to revoke your license. We'll get into that in a little while. The primary way is through metabolism, through the liver. It's got to get out of the body that way. By going through the liver is when we get it into the urine. The metabolism in the liver burns the ethanol and causes a chemical reaction of the ethanol with oxygen. The process is called alcohol dehydrogenase. Dehydrogenase. There we go. I'm not good at big words. I apologize. I'm just a cop. The ultimate product in the chemical reaction is carbon dioxide and water. So that's how we get it out of the breath, because the body eliminates the carbon dioxide that way. The other way is the urine. That's why we won't let you refuse those two. It's going to give us the most accurate onboard time. In the metabolism, the average person's BAC drops by about 0.015 an hour. So if you stop drinking at an 060, how many hours is it going to take you to get sober? 4 hours. You stop drinking at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're in 060, it's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning when you're getting ready to get up to go to work the next day, right? Now, somebody goes home 2 o'clock in the morning and they're at 300. How many hours is it going to take for them to blow zeros? 20 hours. 20 hours is a long time. That's midnight the next day before they're a complete zero.
And by that time, they're already out doing it again.
Bingo. So now you see what I'm saying? There are people out there that have to function at that 100, that 120 level, because that's all they know. They go home, they crack a 12-pack, they drink the 12-pack. They get their BAC up there. They go to bed, they get up the next morning, they're feeling like crap. They'll drink one just to steady their nerves. That'll get them through their 8-hour day. Go home, they crack another 12-pack. Down it again. It's a vicious cycle. Okay? And the body wants equilibrium. Okay? It wants homeostasis. That's what we call it in the DRE program. It wants homeostasis. It wants to flatline. Okay? But when we start dipping down with that depressant, coming down here, it's fighting to bring us back up. Well, eventually we can lower that homeostasis line down here to where we function. But to get there, our body is normally here, but we got to function here. So we just got to keep drinking alcohol. Alcohol starts losing its effect. What do we throw on there? Buddy takes Xanax. I buy a couple of Xanax pills from him. Start popping a Xanax pill a day. Drink a 12-pack a day. Well, that isn't good enough. Try 2 Xanax bars. That'll make life real good for me. I'll just be able to cruise through the day. Do we have a problem in this country? It's out there. What does a blood alcohol concentration mean, or BAC? That's the numbers I'm going to give you from those guys when we're done with the evening. BAC is the number of grams of alcohol found in 100 milliliters of that person's blood. We can measure it by breath or by urine. Okay? When I do urine, I'll get nanograms per milliliters. Okay? When I do BAC, I just get a percentage. Okay? It's starting to get fun in there. I love it. Okay, if a person has a BAC of 0.08, then there is 1/8 of a gram of alcohol in every 100 milliliters of a person's blood. Does that make sense to anybody in here? Good, because I don't get it either. Not a scientist. All I know is that 0.08 right there means that you're legally drunk. Okay? Gram is very, very small. Very small. Milliliters, think of a bottle of whiskey. Generally, those are 750. Okay? Milliliters. So we're talking about 1/7 of that. You have one tiny little speck or grain of alcohol in there. So 1/8 of a grain of alcohol. Pretty scientific, though. Doesn't take much to mess you up, though. So, for the average individual, what does it take to get to a 0.08, or the per se legal limit? It takes 4 cans of Duff beer, 4 glasses of wine, or 4 shots. Now, if you're a bigger, heavier guy like me, it's going to be probably closer to 7. If you're a little smaller, maybe 3. Now, that doesn't mean that your inhibitions are going to be different. Because if I'm a seasoned drunk and I'm used to drinking that 12-pack every night, I'll be steady as a rock, except for one test. 150 pounds, 4 drinks.
So go 200, it's fine.
Okay? All right. I see how this is. This guy's testing the real world and seeing where he can go. Smart feller, I like her. At 4 drinks, 200 pounds, if you were to drink those 4 drinks in 2 hours, you're going to be roughly at 035. But how many people go out and slam just 4 drinks in 2 hours? If a guy's really going out to go to a party, he's 200 pounds, he's probably going to do those in an hour. So we're really probably talking about 8. So let's dial that wheel up at 200 pounds to 8 drinks. Now where do you think you're at in 2 hours?
I probably shouldn't be driving.
That's a good try. About a 100. Okay? Now, if you spread that out over 6 hours, because remember, that first hour we're going to lose 0.015, right? In the second hour we drink, we're losing another 0.015 in that third hour, okay? So if you space your drinks out, you're going to be fine. You're only going to be at an 035. Give or take, depending on how much you've had to eat during that time frame. And if you're truly drinking beer, or a 12% wine, or 80 proof whiskey. Now I'm talking 80 proof whiskey, that's your General Jacks, Jims, Jose's, Turkeys, those types of things. You start getting into some of your designer vodkas, other things like that, you're talking about 120 proof, 180 proof, okay? When it's 160 proof, now it only takes 3/4 of a shot, 3/4 of an ounce, okay? Because at 160 proof, okay, it's 2 shots in 1. Because we've got more pure alcohol in that. Is there a reason that Everclear burns a lot more when you drink it versus Jim, Jack, or Jose? Okay? It's a science. I trust you. If you want to test it one night, come see me. We'll work on it.
I try to avoid it.
I try to avoid myself too, but I keep following myself around. Here we go. All right. How are you guys doing? Doing good? All right.
Have you ever tried putting caffeine into alcohol to make it even more
Red Bull.
Sure, exactly. Red Bull and vodka.
Oh.
Kids are drinking those all the time, man.
After work, yes, they do. Stupid.
Okay, so caffeine is what? What does caffeine do to us?
Get your heart
That's a
rate
good
up.
point. Caffeine, stimulant, right? What's up? What's alcohol? Depressant. Here we go. Okay? Liquid speedball. Okay? Jim Belushi. You know Jim Belushi, right? New Jim Belushi, I should say. Okay? Heroin and cocaine. Woo, fun times. No, not so much. Okay? So yes, they will mix that stuff. You will get people that will do prescription drugs and alcohol. Okay? All the time. Okay. So, how do we get to our drunk? Besides feeding them alcohol in the back room. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Step number 1 is vehicle in motion. We rely on you guys a lot for vehicle in motion. Okay? Our dispatchers are trained to take that 911 call. Hey, I think I got a drunk driver here. What are they doing? Well, they're weaving all over the place. Where are you at? Okay, well, that's a pretty straight road. They shouldn't be weaving. They're going to ask you questions like, are they crossing the center line? I call it mayo mustard. Mayo is the orange line, or yellow line in the center. White line on the fog line. White, right? No, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
See? Thanks. Just a dumb cop. Shh. Don't tell my boss. Okay. So I call it mayo mustard. They're hitting the mayo mustard line. Okay. They're the sandwich in the middle. Mayo mustard. Okay. So if they're doing that, if they're crossing off into the ditch, doing those kind of things, we're going to rely on you guys to tell us where you're at, what the vehicle's doing. Give us a description of that vehicle. Make, model, if you know. Color definitely is a good key. And if you can get a plate, if you're comfortable getting that close, do not put yourself at risk, please. Because the last thing I want you to do is become one of those statistics where you're involved in that accident with a drunk driver. Okay? Because I don't know what that drunk driver's like when he's drunk. I'm hoping out of these 7, they should be happy drunks tonight. They're getting booze for free. Phase 2, personal contact. That's where I'm going to come up and I'm going to say, hey, are you drunk? No, sure, I'm not drunk at all. I'm just having a good time. Okay, step out of the car, let's have a talk. The third is the pre-address screening. That's what you guys are going to do in the 3rd hour class tonight. That's the SFSTs. The finger test, what we call it the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, where we have you look at our finger, we look at the circling in the eyes. Okay? The walk and turn test, 9 steps down, turn around, 9 steps back. And the one leg, L-E-G, it's not legged. If we have any legged individuals in here, we've got a problem because last time I checked, Captain Jack Sparrow and his pirate crew are not here now. So, this session's objectives. We're going to skip through because I can't even see it. I need to change my slides. So, we have field sobriety testing, we have preliminary breath testing, and then we have the question for that pre-arrest screening. Should I arrest or should I not arrest? Okay? So we're going to take the totality of all the circumstances surrounding this. We're going to take that vehicle in motion. We're going to talk about that pre-arrest screening. We're going to go through all this and we're going to say, should I arrest this individual or not? Does the totality of the circumstances make sense for what I'm seeing from this individual? The psychophysical tests are the walk and turn test and the one leg stand test. We want to see the mental and physical impairment and how they interact with each other. Now by psychophysical, what do we do with our car when we're driving? Looking for other cars, we're watching signs, looking for pedestrians, we're flipping with the radio, we're putting our turn signals on and off, we're in our high beams, low beams, we've got the gas pedal, the brake pedal. Oh crap, car! Forgot something. Look at the traffic ahead of us. Why is that? My brain's not functioning fast enough. Because I put a lot of a CNS depressant in there, and instead of being a homeostasis line right here, I've tanked down lower. I'm functioning slower.
Better text that one.
Better text for that one. That's a good one. I like that. The other test involved in that 3-battery test that we deal with is the nystagmus test. It's the involuntary jerking of the eyes. The best way that I can describe this is think about a wet windshield versus a dry windshield and how the windshield wipers move across that. Dry, like that. Where if it's a wet, rainy day, they're really smooth. No sound. Okay? So those eyes will follow the stimulus perfectly. But if they're under the influence of the CNS depressant, they're going to jerk like that wet. And you can't fool this test. You can't be a seasoned drunk and not have your eyes be able to tell me a lie. The eyes to someone's soul, when it comes to a drunk driver or an impaired driver, is in their eyes. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're just...
I'm doing
She's
it.
she's testing herself over here to see if that beer she had before class is really affecting her yet or not.
Does that depend on alcohol, or if they were like on Oxycontin or something else there on marijuana?
Yes.
Do their eyes still flutter no matter what drug or alcohol?
There are 3 types of drugs that will show up in the nystagmus test. We call them the DID drugs. It's CNS depressants, inhalants, and dissociative anesthetics. Dissociative anesthetics would be things like ketamine, PCP, those types of things. Inhalants are gasoline, aerosols, glues, Mr. Sketch markers. God, I love those ones. The kid, it's great. The black one was my favorite, black licorice. You guys, are you shaking your head because you think I'm nuts? Because I used to, or you're like, what are those? I've never heard of those.
She liked the glue.
She was one of those Herbert Smith kids, wasn't she?
That's all I got her.
Congratulations. Okay, so we're going to have depressants, and those are prescription drugs will also affect that, not just alcohol, okay? Inhalants and dissociative anesthetics. Those will work in the nystagmus test, or our horizontal gaze nystagmus test. There are 3 different parts to that test. No, go back. Oh, here we go. Okay. Now, voluntary jerking, the eye can't even track going across. You will see that today. It will be faint, more than likely, but the officer that's with you should be able to show you that.
When you do the testing, do you do additional testing besides that one?
We do a 3 battery.
You do the 3 battery.
Yeah, we do the horizontal gaze nystagmus test
And
first.
then, okay, I
Then
want
we
to
do the walk and turn test, and then we do the one leg can't see. I even caught myself. I got to put it $5.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure that I was,
Yeah, exactly.
I was understanding.
Okay, so that's the difference there.
So what's this test that you blow it? That's not an accurate test?
It is an accurate test, okay? The preliminary breath test that we have on the field is just that, it's preliminary. It gives me an indication that says, is what I'm seeing in your field sobriety test matching your alcohol concentration that I'm seeing? Because if I have somebody stumbling, bumbling, can't talk, can't look at me straight, and has eyes like that, and they blow a 0, whing, a little antenna go up, and I say, you're on drugs. That's when they call somebody like me or Casey. We're DREs. We're trained to go through an in-depth evaluation that takes me anywhere from, the shortest one that I've done is about 1 hour and 15 minutes. The longest one I've done is about 3 hours. Depends on what they're on and how willing they are to work with me. So when I see that bump on a pickle walking down the road, I'm going to say, hey, bump on a pickle, come here. How much dope have you smoked tonight? Yeah, whatever. So if I find no pipe, no paraphernalia, no cannabis or marijuana in his pocket, adios, c'est la vie. I cannot arrest you and take you to jail. It is not illegal to be in public and on a drug, other than alcohol. Because the way 12346, says Iowa Code Chapter 123-66 reads, is you cannot be impaired in public on alcohol. We've arrested people. Attorney's office says, no, dismiss the charge. And the way it reads, if you want to read it technically, is yes. And unfortunately, we live in a technical society. So, they've handcuffed us as officers when it comes to that. Now, can we get creative on that? We probably can find some other issue potentially, especially if you're being loud and ruckus, and then we can get you for disorderly conduct. Problem solved if you're causing a problem in the neighborhood potentially. Sir?
What if there's admission that they're doing drugs? I mean, in your example, you said, they said no.
If they don't have the paraphernalia on them,
So they could tell you that they're high as a kite and you can't do a damn thing about it?
not a stinking thing I can do about it. Unless I can find somebody who has had their peace disturbed or any type of disorderly type problem in the area, and I can make a complaint that way. Or handcuffed. There are laws that handcuff us, just like there are laws that handcuff the general public. Is it something that needs changed? Absolutely. I see your frustration, and trust me, we follow those all the time. We have problems with the way code reads and the way that codes are interpreted by our Supreme Court. And we've got to follow them. We just don't have a choice. Because the last thing that I want to do is be sued civilly for arresting someone for an inadequate charge, for not meeting the elements of the crime to be able to charge them and take them to jail. Because now I'm taking them to jail unlawfully. And that comes back on me. And ultimately, my integrity as an officer is very important to me. And I want to make sure that everything is followed. Yes, ma'am.
Back in 2013, I worked at a Casey's gas station for overnight.
Mm-hmm.
The problem we had was we had people high as a kite coming in at 1:50, getting ready to get all this alcohol for 2 when the registers don't let us, can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have customers in the line before them, and they would get mad, and they would throw things at us, like throw it over the counter and flip out, and we just had to sit there. I don't think that's fair. I mean,
I would say under that situation, you probably would have a disorderly issue, or you could have a trespassing issue if you asked them to leave and they weren't leaving. And then we can correct the issue by taking a trip west.
I
So,
just felt like it was unsafe for us to be
and
there
as a
with someone
business,
that
don't
was.
forget, you have the right to refuse service to any given person at any given time for any given reason. If you don't like the fact they're wearing purple socks, you hate purple socks today is Tuesday, and I am anti-purple socks, you wear purple socks, get out of my store, they have to get out of your store. Doesn't matter. Weird way it works. So we've gone over horizontal gaze and nystagmus. What we're going to do is we're going to check and make sure that their pupils are the same size. We're going to make sure that they don't have any head trauma because of that. We're going to make sure that they don't have any resting nystagmus, which is that the eyes will sit there and just do this. Okay? Seen it. There was a kid who rode with me 2 years ago. I'm sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, whoa, cool, dude. He's like, yeah, I know, my eyes bounce. That's the thing. People know if they're doing that or not. They've been to a doctor. They know if their eyes are doing it. They have a natural nystagmus. Okay? Most of us don't have that. If we do, we know about it. Okay? Second thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the divided attention, or the psychophysical test. We're going to go through that walk and turn and the one leg stand. I blame Jones. It's his thing. On. When in doubt. Concentrating more on more than one thing at the same time. Mental tasks and physical tasks. I have lost connection. Works half the time, doesn't work the other time. Alright. I hate being locked down. Typical stimulus capabilities required for driving. What do we have? We have information processing. We have short-term memory. We have judgment and decision making. I'm in the way of people. I apologize for this, guys.
We can't read it here.
Yeah, I really is right. On a computer screen, this looks great. It really does.
Yeah.
In here with this, all the ambient light, it stinks. I need to brighten it up. I apologize. Simplicity. Is it reasonable to assume that if a sober driver, like anyone, is going to be able to pass these tests? Okay? That's the objectivity of these 3 tests. Okay? Remember, they're just getting to the first hour. We still have half the amount of drinks to go again yet. Okay? Jumping back into this. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to give you guys further instruction on how to do the horizontal gaze and nystagmus test here in a little bit. Okay? The walk and turn test is a divided attention test. Again, we're trying to simulate driving here. Okay? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you several different factors that you need to deal with while you're doing this test, much as you would having oncoming traffic, side traffic, pedestrians, kids screaming in the backyard, crappy radio station, going to change that, turn signal, I'm going to brights on and off, and gas pedal. There it is. Okay, we're good to go. Okay? We have an instructional phase. Okay? That's where we're going to have them stand with their heels and toes together, their arms down at their side. I want you to stay in that position until I tell you to start the test. Do not start the test until I tell you. Do you understand? Doesn't work. Okay? Because cameras don't see. Right, camera guy? I love it. He nods back at me. That's funny. Okay, we instruct everyone to get a verbal yes or no. Audio is so much better to hear than to see on a flat 2D screen. This. In real life, we can understand we see 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 dimensional depending on what drugs you're on. Okay? Then we have the walking stage. What we're going to do, and I'm not going to tape lines out for us tonight, guys. You guys, and we do this in the field. I want you to imaginary, I want you to, wow, the hallucinogens are starting to kick in. It's going to get real fun here in just a second, okay? Trust me, okay? I want you to imagine a line from the bumper of your car to the bumper of my car. I want you to take 9 heel-to-toe steps on that line, counting each step out loud as you go, just like this. 1, 2, 3. And for our purpose, we have them go, we stop at 3. I was backwards, that feels weird. Your left foot on the line, right foot, there we go. So we go to 3. 1, 2, 3. We always have their left foot on first and their right heel touching their left toe. Then, I'm going to give you guys books to read from, okay? So you guys don't have to memorize this because I see everybody's taking notes. It's class, guys, what'd you know? Don't worry, the third hour we're going to go through this manual. It's okay, all right? So we get them up to 9. We're going to say, then what I want you to do is take a small step out, take a series of small steps. I then want you to take 9 heel-to-toe steps down that exact same line. 1, 2, 3, counting each step out loud, looking down at your feet while you're going. Do you understand the test? Uh-huh. Okay, go ahead and begin. Then you have to do the test. Inevitably, they'll screw it up. Okay? Points that we can count on this test are, when we put them in that instructional phase and tell them to stand with their hands and feet together, arms down at their side, just like this, we tell them, don't move. If they move, they start the test. They start as we go. This, or, okay? So, starts too soon and loses balance are our 2 tests that we can count right there. The next ones that we can do are during the walking phase, and that is missing heel to toe, more than 2 inches. Okay? So missing heel to toe. Stepping off the line. Now, what is an average person going to believe a line is on the roadside? Width-wise.
6 inches.
We generally say 4. Lane width. That marker, our Mayo mustard line, that's what people think. How wide your foot? About that wide. Okay? So, if we step off the line, okay? If we step off the line, we're wider than our feet. Guess what we get to count? 2. Missed heel to toe. We couldn't touch if we're missing. We're off the line. Okay? And we're off the line. So we have to count 2 tests, 2 clues there. Okay? Real easy way to think of that one. Second one, raise your arms. And that's more than 6 inches. Okay? Then sway. Improper turn. If they pivot. So it's they get here to 9, and they go. That is not a good turn. You don't pivot in this test. We step out and take a series of small steps. Okay? Walk back down the line. And then number of steps taken. You will not believe how many people will go to 10 or stop at 8. They want to stop at that right foot. Even though it's 9 steps down, turn around 9 steps back. The best ones are the ones that get to 9, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seen it happen. Trust me. So they forget the second part of the test. It's the walk-in turn test. The one-leg stand. Okay? What are we going to do with this test? Just like we did before. Feet together, heels, toes touching, arms down at your side. That is our instructional phase. We're going to have them stand in this position until we start the test. Okay? Do you understand? Yes. Okay? Then what you're going to have them do, stay there, say, when I tell you to start the test, I want you to pick either your right or your left foot. Doesn't matter to us which foot they pick in this test, whatever's more comfortable to them. We had talked at break, he's got a knee injury, okay? And he said, well, what about the knee injury? I always ask people before we start the test, especially the walking turn and the one-leg stand, do you have any problems with your knees, your hips, your ankles, your feet, anything that inhibits you from walking or standing on a normal basis? I tell you what, I got an old football injury. Everybody has an old football injury. I swear, everybody has an old football injury. What'd you play football? High school? What'd you play in high school? 1968 through 1972, Marshalltown High School. Hoorah! Okay, all right. So you injured in football in high school? Yep, absolutely. What'd you do? Blew out my knee. When'd you have it repaired? Well, 1973 when I got to playing football. Okay, so does it inhibit you from walking on a normal basis? No, but I had an injury. I want you to note that I had that injury. There's an injury to this leg right here, and it was fixed. Duly noted. Or you get the guy that says, yeah, it hurts to stand. Well, what do you do for a living? Well, I work a machine at Fisher. Okay. What kind of machine do you work? I work this big, huge press. Okay. How many hours a day do you work? 10? How many breaks you take? Well, I take my morning break, I take my lunch break, I take my afternoon break. Do you sit on a stool at all? No. So you stand the rest of the time? Yeah. Perfect. We're good to go. Let's do the test. Okay? Close up any hole that can be ripped open by defense at that point. Okay? That's what we do. We're not trying to disprove that they may have an injury, okay? But if I can show that when they're sober and they're working and they're earning a paycheck, they don't have an excuse then. What's the excuse now? Is it the alcohol on board, guys? Probably is. So, again, going back to home base. Heels together, toes together, hands down at your side. Stay in that position until I tell you to start. You understand? Yes. Okay. We have 2 clues in our instructional phase again. What are they? Loose balance? Loose balance. Okay. All right. So there you go. All right. I'll give you books that'll have all the clues for what we can use in this. Okay. Then, when I tell you to, not till I tell you to, I want you to pick your right or your left foot. Doesn't matter to me whichever you're more comfortable with. I want you to raise that 6 inches up off the ground. Keep your foot parallel to the ground. I want you to look down at your toe. I then want you to count out loud. 1001, 1002, 1003, so on, until I tell you to stop the test. Do you understand the test as I've described it to you? Yes, I do. Go ahead and begin. You will mark them for 30, you will check them for 30 seconds. You want to see how you're checking a lot of different things here. The main thing for 30 seconds is you want to see what their internal clock's doing. Okay? Do you think a drunk's going to count slow or fast in that 30 seconds? Slow, exactly. Depressant, we're going down. So they're going to count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. That was about 10 seconds, roughly. Okay? Now, the people that I'm doing a drug evaluation on that are on meth, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1007, they do it in 15, 18, 20 seconds. And you can hear them plain as day when they count those thousands out. It's amazing. And when I do a DRE, I have them do both feet. And they'll be within a second of each other on both of those. That's what those kind of drugs will do. Okay? So, that's what the one-leg stand looks like. Then we move into our preliminary breath test. Okay? We demonstrate the association of the alcohol with the observable evidence for the subject's impairment. I want to know that when I see a 0.08 or a 0.1 or a 0.2 or a 0.35 show up, if they're a 0.35, they ought to be a mess. I ought to show 8 clues on the walk and turn. I ought to show 6 clues on the one-leg stand, and I ought to see all 6 clues I'm sorry, 4 clues on the one-leg stand, 6 clues on the HGN if they're really under an alcohol at 350. They're going to be an absolute mess. I'm not getting these guys here. I'm not cleaning up puke tonight. Okay? So, that's what we're checking. When that officer sees that we've got somebody who should be up around the 300, and they're only blowing an 040, boy, something's not right. That's where that 1 in 4 gets caught, and we let 3 go. We're not using our brains as officers, and that aggravates me. It aggravates me because we're better as officers, we're better as Marshalltown Police Department. We're better for the public of Marshalltown. And my goal is to get all of us through training that will bring us up to speed on being able to detect those people that are on drugs, and to give Casey and I a call when that happens. That's my promise to you guys here as a class. That's my goal. That's why I'm up here today. That's why I do the things that I do. The advantages of a PBT. It corroborates other evidence. What we're seeing in our standardized field sobriety tests. We're confirming our judgment. We're confirming that alcohol is the cause of the impairment. And we're establishing the probable cause for an OWI or DWI arrest. Factors. Breast sample composition. Some people just don't know how to blow into a straw when they're drunk. Point in case. That room right now. The air needs to be nice and warm. So when we get our PBTs out, it gives us a sample of what the PBT is reading for air temperature, or what the actual internal temperature of that PBT is. It needs to be between 18 degrees Celsius and 23 degrees Celsius as to where I calibrate our PBTs monthly. Okay? That is going to give us the proper range for when I calibrate that they're going to be reading what that person's alcohol is. Now, if it's 20 degrees below outside and I have them blow while they're outside, as long as that internal temperature is reading properly, we're good to go. Residual mouth alcohol. You guys have heard the myth that, I just brush my teeth, I just use mouth rinse, right? Okay. When I have a subject do a PBT, I'll have them go. Okay? Alcohol, in and of itself, wants to dissipate into the air really fast. Okay? So any alcohol that's in that mouth, or let's say they just drank, I pulled them over and they'd just taken a drink of that beer that's sitting in the car that's cold to the touch. Have you been drinking? Yep, just crack that beer right there. Is that the only beer you've had? Absolutely. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give them 15 minutes of deprivation, okay, to make sure that the alcohol that's in their mouth has the opportunity to escape, okay? And I'm going to make them take a couple deep breaths. That way I get to make sure that all that alcohol is blown out of there and it's gone. What I'm getting is that deep lung, that stuff that's way down in the bottom, that carbon dioxide that's way down here deep, and I want to get that last second or two. That's the air I really want. That's the air that's going to show me what is in their system right now, okay? Contaminants of the breath. Chew, smoking, cannabis. Believe it or not, they eat it. Things like that. So you want to make sure the mouth is clean. People who want to try the penny trick, whatever, doesn't work. Copper doesn't change the composition of alcohol in your mouth, or in your lungs for that matter. Radio frequency interference. Believe it or not, our radios will screw with some of these machines, so we have to turn them off. Good officer safety issue. They're getting better at developing machines that don't have as many issues with that. But the old Data Masters, when I first started in 2006 in southern Iowa, I had to shut my radio off because it had been proven that a handheld radio, when it goes off and it's transmitting to and from, it can screw that machine up inside because it's changing the airwaves. Okay.
All right, first thing here, we're gonna knock out a little breath test. Now we'll get a little interview, background information and such.
You guys just arrested me for no reason, that's all.
Sorry, at 2 o'clock in the morning up in my garage, fixing my neighbor's lawnmower. Trying to borrow it. There's an overhaul and I was going to give it back to him, so I'm really doing it in my favor. The 2 cops walk up and they think it's weird that it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm out fixing a lawnmower in my garage. It's just ridiculous, because a lot of people are up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hello, sir, I'm investigating the theft of a red lawnmower.
I was fine with me driving, and that officer, he doesn't know what he's doing, because I'm fine.
More Officer Snuffy.
All right, just need to take a look at your eyes here for a moment. you're all on drugs. And I know this because I'm a DRE.
We're talking about those levels, okay, where we're seeing a BAC of 0, but we're seeing a lot of clues to impairment in our SFSTs. Officers then call me and say, hey, Cole, stopped Joe over here, and Joe smelled the odor of marijuana coming from the car. He was driving down the center of 9th Street, and didn't really have a reason why he was in the center of the street. Got him out, did fields, and he's showing impairment, but he doesn't show any BAC. What do you think? Did you find any marijuana in the car? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, he had marijuana in his pocket, and the bowl on his pipe was hot. Okay, well, we probably been smoking marijuana in the car. So I say, yep, get him down to the police station, I'll be in. Okay? So I get up, I'll come in, go through that evaluation. That eval goes through a 12-step process. And I think the 12-step process is funny, just because I'm weird like that. Okay, so our 12-step process is a DREs, and I'll pass this around so you guys can briefly look at it. We're gonna go through a breath alcohol test. That's our preliminary breath test, okay? We're gonna interview the arresting officer. That's his phone call with me, and when we're talking about what is his probable cause for thinking he's under the influence of something besides alcohol. Then we're gonna go through the preliminary examination. And we're gonna check for our first of 3 pulses at this point in time. We're gonna do an estimated pupil size, and then I'm gonna check to see what the onset of nystagmus is. Okay, I'm then gonna go into a full-blown eye examination. And that's gonna be the HGN, what you guys are gonna do. I'm gonna look for the lack of smooth pursuit, okay? I'm gonna look for nystagmus at maximum deviation. And then I'm gonna look to see if there's an onset angle, or where the eye begins to twitch when we're starting to move it out. And then I'm gonna look for vertical nystagmus and go up. And then I'm gonna check for lack of convergence. That's being able to cross your eyes, okay? At which point then I'm gonna go into a 4-battery divided attention test. I'm gonna do what's called the Romberg balance test, where I have the subject close his eyes, tip his head back. I'm gonna have him estimate the passage of 30 seconds. And there again, I'm checking the internal clock to see if they're sped up, slowed down. Different drugs are gonna tell me how that body's reacting when they estimate 30 seconds, because I'm gonna see how long it takes him to do that. I'm gonna do the walk and turn test that we do today. I'm gonna do the 1-leg stand today. I'm gonna have them do finger to nose test, where I go back to that Romberg position where they're like this. I'm gonna tell them to touch their finger to nose, just like this, okay? You'll be amazed at how many people will touch their eye, pick their nose, put it in their mouth. They'll double tap, they'll smash the side of their nose like this, looking for it. They'll sit there and they'll go, oops, and slide it over. It's amazing what people will do. Then I'm gonna check the pulse for the second time. Again, I'm making sure that what I'm seeing is true through and through this examination. Okay? Normal pulse rate is anywhere from 60 to 90 beats per second. And I'm gonna check that by going 30 seconds. I'm gonna check your blood pressure. 120 to 140, over 70 to 90 is gonna be your average blood pressure. And I'm gonna check your body temperature orally, in case anybody had a question about how I was gonna do that. She's looking at you like, you know he was thinking that. Absolutely. Pinpointed
Yeah, I
him.
got 6 sense of humor, sorry.
98.6 plus or minus 1 degree. Okay? I'm then gonna go into the dark room. Okay, and by dark room, I'm probably going into the restroom at the police department that's in the back there. Okay? That itty bitty little thing. Okay? A lot of fun little places to bump your head, get tossed around, get thrown around. I always have 2 officers in there. It's always me and another officer in there with the bump on a pickle. Okay? When we go in there. Because I am turning the lights completely off. I'm gonna sit in there for a minute and a half with them in the dark, so their eyes can adjust. I'm gonna check their eyes to see if they're dilated properly. There are drugs out there, narcotic analgesics, your morphines, your heroines, things like that. They're gonna make those pupils constrict down and they're not gonna move. So the dark room, you're gonna wanna open up. But if I see that those pupils are still really constricted in there, I know that you're gonna be on a narcotic. You're on some sort of opiate, okay? It's the only drug that's gonna do that to you, Okay, do you think that screws with your depth perception by allowing the wrong amount of light to come into your eye when you're driving? Of course it does. Okay. Then I'm going to check to see what your eyes do in direct light. Okay, that's when they should screw down. There are drugs that will screw with you and keep your pupil wide open. Do you think that's a problem driving around on a day like today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and your pupils are sitting at an 8 millimeter? Okay, there's an issue there. Okay. I'm going to look into your nasal passages. I'm going to look into your oral cavity. There's what they call heat bumps. Heat bumps are the irritation of the taste buds from the excessive heat used to burn meth, cannabis. Your two big ones. You're going to see heat bumps. You're also going to see the discoloration of the tongue and the saliva that's on that tongue. It's going to be a green, white, slimy goo. It's the best way I can describe it. A green, white, smelly, stinky goo. If you think the odor, does everybody know what marijuana smells like raw? Does anybody not know what it smells like?
I can't say I do.
Okay. Driven by a skunk on the road dead, right? There you go. It smells like a skunk. At least that's what I equate it to. Whenever I smell a skunk and I smell really good, unburnt weed, raw cannabis, I smell a skunk. So, want to go around smelling a skunk all day, light up some marijuana, I guess. That's what I equate it. A lot of other officers of the PD do also. It's a unique smell, and that's the only thing I can equate it to is skunk spray. Okay, after checking in the mouth and the nose, I'm going to check your muscle tone. There are different types of drugs that will make your muscles feel really gooey, jello-y. I don't know how else to explain it. We call it flaccid. But it's, if you were to take Jell-O and put it into a cellophane or a sandwich bag, you suck all the air out of it and smush it around, that's what it feels like. It's really gooey gross. There are also those drugs out there that make your arms really stiff. Stimulants, meth, make you really rigid. Okay? I'm then going to check for your third pulse. I'm now an hour and a half into this evaluation that I'm investing in keeping the roads safe. But I do it because I love to do it. And it's fun to try to figure out the puzzle that's going on inside your body. I'm then going to sit there and I'm going to tell the person, hey, look, this is what your body's telling me. This is what I think. I think you're on some sort of a narcotic. What kind of prescription drug are you taking over the counter? They're going to be like, what? Like, no, what are you doing? Fentanyl patches? Are you stealing your mom's oxy from her surgery? I don't know, I paid a guy $10 to give me a bag of pills and there was just a bunch of stuff in it. What? You think I'm joking? People will sell whatever they can out of your medicine cabinet. Okay? Generally, 9 times out of 10, I can get there and I can talk with that subject and they're going to tell me what they've used, especially if they've used weed, cannabis, marijuana. Because it's okay. I have done, over the last 3 years, I've done 37 evals in 3 years. I would say 90% of them involved marijuana. They will cop to the marijuana every time. They will tell me, I smoked a bowl yesterday. I smoked a bowl this morning before I got in the car. I smoked a bowl when I got off work and it's 5:30. These people are showing signs of being intoxicated, not driving properly. I want to talk about somebody who's under the influence of meth, cocaine, heroin, especially if they're shooting it up. Absolutely not. They don't give that up. I can sit there and I can lay all the clues out there. I can say, look, this is what this is doing to you, man. Yeah, I know. So why are you doing meth? I'm not doing meth. It's just the way I am. I was born this way. No, you weren't. It's scary, guys. It's out there. Absolutely, 100%. Then I'm going to give my opinion and I'm going to take them to jail. I'm going to charge them with OWI. I'm going to ask them for their urine to send to the DCI. I'm going to get that back in about 2 weeks. If they consent and they show that they were under the influence, I'm going to revoke their privilege to drive for 180 days if it's their first offense. If they've had prior convictions within the last 12 years, it's going to go up to a year. If they refuse to give me a sample, I'm going to revoke their privilege to drive for a year. If it's their second conviction or more in 12 years, it's going to be for 2. People will do both. It doesn't matter to me. It's your right to drive. It's your right to refuse. I take no offense to refusals because I know what I'm seeing as an officer. I know that what I'm seeing is correct. I just want to make sure the roads are safer. That's my biggest thing.
So you're saying a refuse, okay, so I refuse to give you a urine test, blood, everything else. So how does that go in your record then? Does it go as an OWI or just refuse to consent?
It goes down as an OWI test refusal.
Okay.
And that's how it'll read on your driving record. There's 2 prongs to an OWI in the state of Iowa. There's the administrative and there's the criminal. The administrative, strictly your privilege to drive a motor vehicle. And I have a couple boxes that I can check. If I can check those 6 boxes, if I can check any of those 6 boxes, it has to do with PBT over 080, personal injury or death accident. There's a couple 4 others. Those are the main ones that are there. We're placed under arrest for OWI suspicion. Those are the 3 main ones that we use as officers. If we can check any of those 3 boxes, we have the right to request a specimen. If I do that and you refuse, you're going to lose your license for a year to date. I'm going to give you 10 days to get your affairs straightened up, and that'll take effect after that date. So 10 days from today, you're going to be revoked for a year. Here's how you can go about trying to get your license back before then, but good luck. Okay. If you consent, then it's going to go down as just an OWI. First offense, we revoke for 180 days, at which point you're going to carry SR22 insurance. Okay? Depending on your substance abuse evaluation, you may have to have a breathalyzer in your car just to start your car. It just depends on what the Court of Appeals for the DOT has to do. Now the second prong is the criminal charge. That's why you're going to jail. Okay? Completely separate. Okay? You're going to sit in the pokey overnight or until you bond out, whichever you choose to do. At which point you're going to have an initial appearance set. You're going to plead guilty or not guilty. If you plead not guilty, we'll see you in trial about 6, 8, 10. I've got one going on almost 12 months. I had an accident last June. It is set to go to trial tail end of next month, tail end of April. So it'll be 10 months. It's this one right here. About 4:30 in the afternoon, 4:45, June. This one right here. 10 months for this guy right here, who was under the influence of narcotics, abusing his pain pills.
When, if you refuse the test, and if you go to the hospital, is there a time frame? Or do you just automatically go to the hospital and you ask them to do the test there at the hospital?
I do the breath test.
So badly, you know.
I do the breath test. I collect the urine sample and send it to the DCI. The blood test, I do have to have a phlebotomist at the ER draw. I don't generally like to do that because A, you can refuse it and it doesn't count against you, okay? B, I have to use a specific vial, and those vials are kind of expensive to make sure that the blood doesn't continue, the alcohol doesn't continue to metabolize and ferment, causing more alcohol. There have been cases where people don't put it in the right tube for both blood and urine, and the alcohol concentration comes back at like a 0.9. Yeah. Whoops! Guess what? There's sugars in there, and the alcohol feeds on the sugars and makes more alcohol. Okay, it just sits there and ferments some more. Okay, so that's why we have to be careful with that. So that's just one of those, we don't do it often enough, so we get tripped up. Now you're talking if somebody is injured. They can still refuse blood, unless I can get a doctor to deem you unconscious or not able to make a sound decision. If that doctor is willing to sign that piece of paper, I can ask the phlebotomist to take that without a warrant. But it's called death or dismemberment.
Test refusal is urine.
Test refusal can be any of the 3. You can refuse any of the 3. I can't count a refusal against you for blood. because people have fear of needles, not wanting to pay for it, and it's a cost on the city if I need to go get blood, because I'm gonna have to pay for that. I said I was gonna send this around and I didn't, I'm a liar. This is what an eval sheet looks like. Now, is an OWI or a drugged driving case time consuming? Absolutely, but is it worth it? 100%. I'll sit there, I'll do that every day. If I could, I would go out all day long and do nothing but traffic stops. Not because I like giving people fines, okay? Don't get me wrong, I don't like giving people fines, because I've been fined. I've had speeding tickets. I've had seatbelt tickets, okay? And I've paid them because I knew I was in the wrong. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to say. I don't like giving people tickets. What I like doing is making sure that the roads are safer, because I don't like doing death notifications. I don't like calling a parent and saying your son's been in an accident, you need to go to the hospital to make sure that he's okay. I don't like having a mother break down at the door because her student, her child, has been involved in an accident, and I've got to make sure that she gets to the hospital safely without causing another accident while she's trying to rush around and get there to make sure that her baby's okay. I don't like going to a high school and having to do grief counseling because the student's been killed in a car accident. I don't like pulling friends out of cars on the interstate because they were drunk driving on their way home in college, and I'm working on the volunteer fire department. And seeing them the next day and wanting to just beat the living snot out of them. It sucks. It sucks really bad. That's why I do what I do. That's why I love what I do, and that's why being here helps me want to go back out there and get some more, get to catch the next drunk. I want to catch the 3 that are getting away. Categories that we have is DRE, CNS depressant, we have alcohol, anti-anxiety prescription drugs, anti-tranquilizers, and benzos. Just some categories. And stimulants, you have your common methamphetamine, cocaine, MDMA, or ecstasy. Okay? MDMA and ecstasy are making a comeback. A lot of people think that was kind of the 70s, early 80s. It's making a comeback. We have our dissociative anesthetics, PCP, DMX. You mentioned cough syrup. We have a problem in this country about kids stealing Robitussin, DM, or any other cough syrup that has DM on it. Okay? There is an ingredient in there called dextromorothiamine, DMX. Okay? They call it Roboing. What they'll do is they'll take that, they'll pour it into their Sprite bottle, and it'll become pink or purple. Okay? Excuse me. They also call it purple drink. And they will drive around drinking from their 1 liter of Sprite, just like this, that's purple in color. For DRE certification that we have to go through when we have 3 nights of certs in the field, we go to post 1 down there by the tire factory just off of 8035, 2nd Avenue. We have other officers that were seasoned. They go out into the field, they look for people that are on these drugs, bring them back to the post. We run them through field sobriety tests, we run them through our DRE program. 2nd year I was a DRE. 1st year out, I jump in with an Ankeny officer. We get in a car chase. I want to talk about grabbing a hold. It was interesting to be flying around Des Moines, not knowing where you're at, where your backup card is, but trusting that officer sitting next to you knows what he's doing. And luckily, he did. And guy finally stopped, just gave it up. We were the only 2 there, got him pulled back. Doing an inventory of his car, and I see this purple bottle of Sprite. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Sure enough, because there was more crimes involved in this whole situation, he did not go to the students for the DRE program. He went directly to an officer who was a DRE. Trooper went through, and sure enough, he showed dissociative anesthetics in his evaluation. He had been roboing.
Make it just tired. I mean, DM just makes you tired, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Why would you want to be
Is
tired?
that that whole bottle or just something?
I think we found 2 empties, 2 empty bottles in there. So he'd been hitting her hard that night. It's Friday night, why not? What else you gotta do? Go steal a couple of bottles of Robo, go grab you a 1 liter bottle of Sprite, and head out driving. See what kind of trouble you can stir up. Narcotics, anything morphine, derivative, opiates, okay, comes from your opiate. plant opium, oxycodone, hydrocodone, hydrocodone, any derivative thereof. Okay? Hallucinogens are making a bit of a comeback also. They like to mix those with the PCP sometimes too. Makes for a real wild drunk. Inhalants, paint, dust off, gas, fuels, any type of anesthetic gases, whippets. You know, when a chef comes to your table at the fancy restaurants that I see on TV, because I've never been to one, they shake it upside down and they put whipped cream like that. That canister in there, kids will use what they call a cracker. Okay, pierces the hole. It looks like your CO2 cartridge or your CO cartridges for your air pistols. Looks like those. Same thing. Okay, use a cracker, put it in a balloon, hop on a balloon. Colorless, odorless. Goes away very quickly, because what is the body constantly doing? You're constantly breathing. These are very difficult to catch. Biggest story that I have, Sergeant Watson. You guys dealt with him last week with Taney, right? He's working night shift 2 years ago, I think, maybe a year and a half ago. He calls me up and says, hey Cole, I think I got one for you. What do you got? He says, well, I called out to Walmart. Guy's sleeping in his car. Okay. Tap on the window. Guy wakes up, looks up, drops it in drive, tears out of the parking lot. Gets onto Center Street, heads southbound. Of course, he's got to run back to his car, jump in. He spins around, heads off to After. Center Street, Iowa Avenue, finds this individual passed out behind the wheel again. Cautiously approaches. Hope! See you later. Southbound we go. Mile and a half later, finds the car in the middle of Highway 14 down the S curves. Now we've got him surrounded because we've got a whole bunch of deputies, a whole bunch of night shift cars there, you know, because everybody wants to go to the fun stuff. And night shift's boring about that time of day too. So everybody's there. This time he walks up with his ass, smashes the window out, grabs the keys. They find 27 cans of dust off in the floorboard that are full and 4 empties. What he was doing is as he got out of sight of the officers, he was hitting a can of dust off.
Oh my God.
And that displaces the oxygen out of your system, and night-night we go. As soon as you pass out, body makes you stop breathing a little bit, resets you, and you start breathing again. You slowly get that out of your system, start getting oxygen back to the brain and the heart, and our system restarts. How'd you like to have met him? Okay. And then we've got our ever-present cannabis. THC is the active ingredient, or you have your cannabinol, or you have your hashish, anything like that. Somebody's going to ask me about synthetics here in a second. Bath salts, K2. It can be any of those 7 categories. It doesn't matter. All they're doing is they're using the potpourri or the cannabis to get those chemicals into the body, and how the body deals with those chemicals differs because this batch may have the same name as this batch, but this batch has a different chemical B in instead of chemical A. And now people on the Hill are going to say, well, we can't have chemical A, we can't have chemical B, so let's throw chemical C in this. We're still going to call it El Diablo. We're still going to package it as potpourri, not for human consumption. But the head shops are still going to sell it as potpourri. Now we're going to stuff it into our marijuana bowl and we're going to hit it. Now we outlaw chemical C, so we're on to chemical D, E, F, G. Now we're on to double G, double H, double I.
How much alcohol have you had to drink tonight? I just had a couple of beers before I left. I have a real good suspicion that you had more than just a couple of beers. That's just based on what I'm getting. But the one thing that leads me to believe that there's maybe some narcotics involved, do you have any idea what that might be? Just a lucky guess? Just a lucky guess? Do you have any narcotics in the vehicle?
No, other than that little bit of pot, no.
Okay. You might have a little bit of pot? Yeah. Okay, that might be inside the vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Except for maybe in the ashtray, a couple of roaches, but no, I haven't smoked any pot tonight.
You haven't smoked any pot tonight? You haven't smoked any pot tonight?
No.
Not going to either.
Okay. The one thing that led me to believe that there might be some marijuana in the car tonight. Very good. Powers of observation. I didn't even know it was there. Amazing how that happens.
Uppers would be your stimulants. Downers would be your depressants. Okay? Street names. But we have an issue in Iowa where if you're drinking alcohol, which is a legal substance, and you're over the per se legal limit, it's no WI. If you're under heroin, it's no WI. If you're under cocaine, it's no WI. If you're abusing your prescription drugs and you're taking too many narcotics, it's no WI. Same penalty, same amount of fine, same amount of time in jail. First one is classified the same across the board. Now, because we're dealing with illegal drugs and abusing our prescription drugs, what I would like to see is I would like to see those penalties enhanced. Okay? Never going to touch and get rid of alcohol. Prohibition's never going to come back. Okay? And we're on the slippery slope of legalizing marijuana, and that's my personal opinion. We don't have to get into that today. Okay? But I see that being a DRE officer is a very slippery slope for us, just to step up onto my soapbox. And it's going to be an issue later on. Okay? Yes?
Okay, and I agree with you, things need to change in the laws. What kind of lobbying efforts are going on at the Hill?
Right now, zero. There's nothing being presented. And that's where I'm trying to find the time between personal life, work life, trying to get something wedged in there in both my personal and work life to try to start a bill somewhere to get things to move along and to progress into that. It's not going to happen next year. It's not going to happen in 2017. It's not going to happen in 2018. Okay? I'm a realist. I know what it's going to take. 2020. Let's hope. Okay? Before I end my law enforcement career, I'd like to see something for an enhanced penalty for people that are using illegal drugs, narcotics, and anything else and abusing their prescriptions. Because it is a problem. I've shown you that today. I think we all can agree on that. I'm not up here to try to sell anything to you today, I promise. But that is something that's a goal, something that I want to see happen. It is a problem. Okay?
I'm Eric, your host. Now today we're going to take the car out onto the streets, and we're going to do some K-turns, and then we're going to do some U-turns, and then we're going to go ahead and parallel park in a spot smaller than we have before. To start it all off, however, we need to take a hit of our salvia. Once you have that done, you're going to hold it in for about 20 seconds, or until your vision begins to vibrate. At that point, you can start your car and you'll be good to go. In the meanwhile, check your mirrors. Make sure that they're pointing in the right direction. I'll be back in a moment. Ooh, I waited a long time on that one.
Anybody scared of this guy?
Yeah, I can just hold you.
Salvia.
Salvia, so long.
Who's got a nice cranial burn at their house? Grow any of it?
So as it makes you trip into space. Excuse me. That's you in space now.
When you guys get to your driving portion, I would like someone to figure out if they can know what a K-turn is. I've yet to tell anyone tell me what a K-turn is.
It's a three-pointer with a couple
Yeah, I drive a fairly long camper. I've never done a K-turn in a trailer. I can't figure it out.
What's wrong with salvia?
What is salvia?
It's an herb. It's a plant in your garden. It's a perennial.
It's a pretty plant.
Yeah, red or purple plant. It's got kind of a textured leaf to it. And they'll dry it out. They'll smoke anything. There you go. What? This is great. I don't want to do this anymore. This stuff's bad for your health. I've never been to outer space, but I'm guessing this is what it looks like.
At least he hasn't started driving
Does anybody notice what's wrong with the steering wheel? Yeah, he's duct taped the airbag in. Is this a problem for anyone else that's watching this video? And there go the keys. I love my job, don't get me wrong, okay? But at the same time, we can always use more of us, okay? And it's the nature of the beast. It's not that we don't try, and it's not that if we see someone who is visibly and obviously drunk in front of us, we're not gonna make that traffic stop. But am I proactively running radar? Am I proactively out looking for those things? No. But do we have grant money for those things? We absolutely do, okay? Right over here, okay? We're gonna hold that for 4 seconds, and then your onset angle is gonna be from here to just the outside of the shoulder, and we're gonna take 4 seconds to get out there, okay? The walk and turn test and the one leg stand are in here, right there. There's the instructions right there to go through. Okay?
Okay.
So,
We're old, we need glasses.
then you can see here on the page, on the white page, or your pages are gone. You're kidding me, right? Oh, there you go.
They're in the back.
Okay. No,
No,
probably
they're in
not.
the back.
There you go. Okay.
Got it.
They may have been ripped. Some of them may have been ripped out. Because
I have one.
Oh,
No, there's-
you got a couple in there.
All right.
We're gonna do a couple. We'll probably get you through it. Maybe 2 groups, maybe 3. Okay. So everybody kind of try it out. See what you think. See how you can do that. Okay.
What's have you guys closed?
When you told to start, you're drunk.
Good job.
Now, put your hands down to your side and stand there.
Makes sense.
Put your arms out, and leg out 6 inches off the ground. 6 inches. You're not 6 inches.
Good enough.
Treat this guy like a hardened criminal.
Down on your knees.
No. Not that hardened. Not that hardened of a criminal. Like a blue collar criminal.
So you're the subject.
I'm your subject.
He's been drinking.
So have you been drinking tonight?
Had maybe like 2 beers.
I'm gonna have you stand on one leg.
Okay.
You're gonna look down at your leg. You're gonna put your arms about so far out. You're gonna look down at your foot.
Okay.
You're gonna hold that position for about 30 seconds.
Which foot?
You could do either. You could do either leg.
Start with his name first.
We should introduce ourselves.
I want the act. No, it's right here.
Oh.
The test, the instructions for the test. But let's.
He didn't show us that.
Yeah.
I'm going to check your eyes. Please remove your glasses.
Got 'em
Good
off.
there.
Took 'em off for
Okay.
you.
Are you wearing contacts?
I am wearing contacts.
Keep your head still. And follow the stimulus with your eyes only. Do not move your head. Do you understand the instructions? Okay. Then
All right. Am I watching your finger?
You're going to watch my finger.
Okay.
Does everybody know this is jerky eyes?
Now clear. Hold it.
Moving your finger really jerky. I got it. Don't worry. I'm still watching.
I want to show you if we're done with the HGN. Okay. So kind of what we do is when we get them out of the car, or we're going to do a sobriety test because they're staggering down the street in public interest. So what we do is, what I'm going to have you do, sir, is I'm going to have you turn and face me. I'm gonna have you put your feet together and your arms down at your side. We're gonna do an eye test. I'm gonna have you follow the tip of my finger with your eyes only. You're gonna keep your head perfectly still, okay? This has got to be 18 inches from his face, and you want to kind of be slightly up, and this is a little difficult because he's taller.
I'm just going down, sir.
No. So what I'll do is I'll be 18 inches, and the first one is equal tracking, just to make sure when you watch his eyes that there's nothing that they follow, okay, or you might see one eye bigger than the other, you know, the pupils.
There you go. Now it makes sense. Go back across all the way, check the eye twice. Hold it there. Huh? We're gonna go really slow, okay, so we're gonna go 1. We saw that, that dry windshield going across. I guess if you do 369, you end up with that left foot. Okay, makes sense? Wrong when I told you to do the instructional phase. You want to have to put the left foot on the line with your right heel touching your left toe. So that's what you need to do to start. Okay. Okay. Ready? Ready.
Steps back. 1, 2, 3.
What I do, move your finger up, you hold it up a little bit higher, and make her work for it. Look at my finger. How does that look?
I think even if I was sober, it would be really
Okay,
hard.
do it again. Ready?
Even if I was sober, you write that down,
Yes,
right?
you do write that down. You ready? Make her work for it. How does that look? She got some good bounce? Okay, that's what you're looking for. You don't ever have to judge the amount of bounce, you're just looking to see it's there. If it's there, make sure. Yep, she's at maximum deviation. Now what she's doing is she's actually opening up her eyelids, and it's giving you something else to, you know, a lot more room to look at versus holding her down. So, good. Now you're going to check for onset prior to 45. Okay. Nope, you're going to come over here, remember, real slow. Oh, okay. Super slow. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Is it moving?
There you go. Good. And you'll notice vertical because vertical's got the upward downward bounce, and it's got to be distinct and sustained. So when you're holding it up there, just a little bit doesn't do much. You're gonna notice it's gonna be moving for you.
Okay. So left foot on the line.
Right foot. Stop a minute. Go back. Nope. Left foot on the line. Right foot directly in front of it. Arms down your side. Stay like that.
Oh, okay. Stay.
Yep.
I thought she was trying to balance with her arms quite a bit.
She was. She had her arms out on.
When she was going back this way.
Yep.
Right about here.
Yep. She got her arms out like this.
It was
and
kind of
further
a-
than about 6 inches from your side is when you're using your arms for balance.
Okay.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006,
Okay.
1007.
Okay, you can stop.
Okay, so what we do on this part is we use our watches and we do 30 seconds, okay? So you'll watch your watch and then you'll estimate, or I mean you watch till 30 seconds is done and you have to be mindful of what they're doing while you're also making sure that you get them in 30 seconds, okay? When they have their foot out in front of them, it's whichever one they want, approximately 6 inches off the ground, and you keep your foot parallel.
I thought she performed the cast fairly well, considering the situation. But I don't know. I mean, the only red flag for me really was the arms of that initial test. You know, but is that enough?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. This is what I say. We're going to find a lot of people with disabilities that were unable to perform walking tests or unable to perform the one-leg stand. So sometimes the only test we can do is with the eyes.
Put your legs together and put your arms on your side. And you're going to want to put your finger about 18 inches away from his face. And if you put your chin down for me a little bit, you're over tall for me. Okay, if you have your stick, relax a little bit for me. If you have your finger down there, you see how his eyes are really closed. Okay, you raise it up. I think they're going to the
Your group's over there.
Oh, I am. Yep.
Somebody's extremely too tall, just we can set them down. The test performs just exactly the same as if he's standing up or sitting down.
Well, it is hard because they can see stuff that I couldn't. Like from my view, I'm like looking like this. It's harder even with his eyes wider.
Yep.
it takes a while. And with new people, like I said, we have to have them read off the card because there's no way somebody coming out of the academy is going to be able to do this. And it's the first time you have your new officers doing it, it's a train wreck every time.
Mackenzie, she was out in the hallway wearing the blue shirts. Who had her? 2 groups. You guys? Would you arrest her?
No.
You arrest her? Yeah? Did you guys arrest her? You guys wouldn't arrest her?
Negative.
Negative. Okay.
Another drink.
Mackenzie she started at 6 o'clock. And after an hour, she was an 052. She had 5 Captain and Cokes.
Oh my.
Okay, total. That's total. So she's roughly 2 or 3 drinks into that. Okay?
Wow.
She had 5 Captain and Cokes. She came out to you guys at a 116. She went back in at a 130. So she's loose inhibition. Okay, loose inhibition. So she's still going up. Okay? She must have had her last drink really close to the end of that and had to pound that last drink, would be my guess. Okay. John, guy up here in the corner. Who had John? What would you guys do? Arrest?
Arrest.
Arrest. John had 7 Miller Lights. He was an 058 halfway through after an hour. He came out at a 115, went back in at a 124. So there again, he had that last drink way late.
So the one for the room gets you every time.
Yeah, last call drink. Last call should be, I'm going to head home.
Last call would be lots.
Monty, guy up here. Okay, you guys, arrest, no arrest? You would arrest? Okay, and you guys would not have arrested. Monty, he's a big boy. He had 9 Coors Lights. I'm sorry, he had 9 Coors Lights in 2 hours. Halfway through, he was an 046. He came out at an 010 and went back in at an 091. So that's about what we see in an hour's time frame. Remember, every hour, what are we going to lose? 0.015. So he lost 0.01. Science doesn't lie, guys. So that's when they say, I only had 2 drinks. Bull. Doesn't work that way. Rich. Where was he at? He was over in the corner. Okay. Who had Rich?
We did.
Arrest, no arrest?
Arrest.
Arrest? Arrest. Rich also had 9 Coors Lights. He was one of those talkies, make you drinky. He was a 032 halfway through. He came out at an 099. He went back in at an 086.
Wow.
How was his walk and turn? Show any clues to impairment there?
Better the second time.
A couple times.
Okay.
A couple times. It was turned.
One leg stand pretty decent?
We didn't get to that one.
Didn't get there?
He did.
Okay.
He tipped with his foot.
In the beginning.
So cut his balance.
Okay.
He
But all
was
in all,
wobbly on the walking. Didn't do heel toe a couple times.
okay.
But
So probably doesn't drink a whole lot anymore.
But he was, he was pretty stable though after. But he was flesh though and had red face.
Okay, Jeff. Back over here. Jeff, what'd you guys say? Arrest, no arrest? Arrest. Jeff, arrest. Jeff, he got after it in the first hour. He was no 76. He came out at a 116 and went back in at an 098. 6 beers.
No body fat.
Wow.
Wonder why. Now, do you believe when someone says they? Okay. See, this kind of stuff is the stuff that I'd like to take to court with me, because I can say that, look, this person weighed X amount of pounds. It took him this many drinks in 2 hours, and this is what he was at. I can use these types of sciences when I go to testify. Okay. Paul, clear in the back corner. Arrest?
I'd definitely give a breathalyzer.
So you're thinking close, you're not sure?
I wasn't sure.
Okay. On the line? Okay. He had 7 Miller Lights, halfway through was an 042, came out at an 095, went back in at an 086.
So he was
But is he able to process everything right? Maybe not. Are those the tough drunks that we have to deal with as officers to make sure we know what we're doing? Absolutely. Sam, little gal up here.
Yeah.
Arrest, no arrest?
Arrest.
Arrest? Who else? Arrest? Okay. She drank wine.
Four?
4 glasses. 4 ounce glasses of wine. So she had 16 ounces. That's all she had.
She only said 2 to us.
Okay, so she had 2 8-ounce glasses of wine. However you want to say it. I can make 2 work for any of these guys. Okay? The guys that had 9, they had 40s. And 2 40s. Okay? I mean, that's how it works out, guys. I mean, I can make 2 beers anywhere I go. It doesn't matter. Okay, so Sam was an 068 halfway through. She topped off at 104 and went back in at an 082. So everybody except for Sam going back in is going to pass our failed field sobriety test on the Data Master. They're all above the per se legal limit to drive when you guys saw them. Like I said, everybody knows what a bump on a pickle looks like. Everybody knows what a drunk looks like. It's these guys in here that we as officers are training to be more proficient at arresting and making sure the roads are safe. Questions, comments, concerns? Other than getting rid of blue on black? I did. That's how I got my numbers.
Oh.
The breathalyzer machine is not portable. It's down at downstairs in the back room at the PD. I can't use it's. So it's. And out in the cars, we use a little PBT machine. Will you grab that? Oh.
Do you make more arrests during the 3-day holidays where you get Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off?
Generally, I'm going to say yes. And I'm not going to say that there's more drunks on the road during those days than there are any other weekend. The reason I'm going to say yes is because we have grant money where we can get extra officers out on the road. That's the only reason that I'm going to say yes to that comment. Okay? Both the Sheriff's Office and Deputy Beren back there in the back is in charge, and then Sergeant Belial is in charge of our TTSB funding. That's the Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. They put together grants each year that every agency has the opportunity to apply for, and with that, you can use that to buy equipment, you can use that for overtime money, you can use that for sting operations, things like that. I'm sure some of you probably saw last fall, Ben, that you guys put together the deal out in the new Hobby Lobby parking lot out there. We put together a check point out there on the road. Those types of projects are used exclusively with that grant money. So I'm going to say yes, we will make more arrests, but it's not because there's more drunks, it's because we're better staffed. That's the only reason. Okay? Yep. This is our PBT right here. Okay? This is what we use in the field. Really simple. Okay? All you do is get it to turn on. It's going to run a blank sample. It's going to make sure that everything's zero. I'm going to tell the subject to take a deep breath in. I'm going to tell you to blow. And it'll know when you're blowing. It's going to know that you're blowing the correct pressure and that you're getting enough volume through the machine. And it's going to wait till you get to that lower air, that bottom air in your lungs to get that good BAC calculation in there. So that's all this is right here.
And that's acceptable.
And every officer?
Absolutely not. Because I can manipulate this.
Every officer carries one of those then?
Every officer carries a go bag. We carry that in our cars, and each bag is equipped with our PBTs. These are our go bags right here. These are checked out after at the beginning of every shift and return. They've got tint meters, PBTs, some extra flashlights, extra little tools of the trade. We just carry them in these little boxes right here is where the PBT goes. So each officer needs to grab one of those before they go out on shift. The reason these are not admissible into court, and I know you're thinking, well, why do you use them? They're not admissible into court for an OWI because I can manipulate that. Okay? So it's not a true and accurate science. I check all those every month. Especially me as an officer, I'm in there absolutely hammering for that OWI to stick. That's the one charge I want to stick because it is an enhanceable offense. We go from serious to aggravated to Class D felony. So you will eventually end up with that felony on there, and you just keep racking up Class D felonies. Eventually, what's generally probably happening is he's getting barred for a certain period of time, not driving, gets his license reinstated with the conditions that he has that interlock device in there.
He has this thing in his car for 6 years, he says.
That's going to be a hefty rent bill. So, like I said, do we have a problem? Absolutely. Something that we can fix to being vigilant as a society to try to help that. So, and if you see somebody who's questionable in their driving, guys, please understand you're not bothering us, you're not bothering our comm center, you're not bothering us as officers. We want to make sure the roads are safe, so call us. We'll make that determination if we see the offenses available, and we'll get those people out. It may just be something as simple as that they're having a diabetic reaction, and we need to get them some medical help. Some things are enhanceable. As you continue to have the same problem of stealing, driving while drunk, things like that, we enhance that to try to say no, no, no. It's like send the kid to timeout for 5 minutes, send the kid to timeout for 10 minutes, send the kid to timeout for 20 minutes. You know, if they keep doing the same thing wrong, you're going to try to wrap them on the wrist a little bit harder each time. Okay? Guys, I've enjoyed my time here. I hope I was informative to you. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. It's really simple. If you have Sergeant Belial's, it's just ACOL. Okay? I'd be more than happy to answer anything you've got. If I can't find the answer, or if I don't have it, I will find it for you. Okay? Please enjoy your ride-alongs with us. Hopefully you guys all get to do that. And have a good night. Drive home safe.